Hey now. What's going on, people? Welcome to the show. It's another week of the Uneeda Horror podcast. And today, we're taking ourselves off the grill and on to Elm Street. So this week, we're taking on the Elm Street franchise with our memories and ratings. And I when I was doing this, I was like, who am I bringing on for Elm Street? And I thought to myself, it's hard to find Elm Street fanatics like me. We're not as when you're in the world we're in, you're gonna find 2-to-1 Friday fanatics to Elm Street fanatics, and about the same for Halloween fanatics. You will find more Halloween and Friday fanatics than Nightmare fanatics. In my life, it's harder to find Elm Street fanatics. But Sauce, you're a damn Elm Street fanatic. Am I right? Are you like me?
Oh, 100%. And I would almost say that it's closer to 3-to-1 than 2-to-1 as far as Friday the 13th goes.
It's getting that way. It's definitely getting that way. It's getting worse, man. We're disappearing.
It's terrible.
Yeah. But I got Sauce with me here today to talk about Elm Street. And, of course, I've got Nick with me today. Nick, I see you're repping your Uneeda shirt today. How's that thing looking?
Sir. Dude, it's like my favorite type of fitting shirt because it's like one of the only shirts that's like it's just tight enough to where it makes me look like I have bigger arms than I do. So I'm like, yeah, I love this shirt. Yeah, it fits great. Love it. I've washed it and dried it multiple times. It's not fading. So
good. Teespring's not that bad, man. They can be, but Sauce, you have something to say about Teespring?
No, I was gonna say I'm very picky about shirts, and Teespring has done right by me so far. It just depends on whatever the creator picks, shirt wise.
Yeah.
Like, as long as they're not doing like the slim fit for twinks, generally, it's going to be a pretty solid shirt. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're premiering this episode. I'm sure we're premiering this episode. So I'll try to be in the chat. It just depends on what I have going in my life right now. But if I'm not in the chat right now, thank you all for being here. So as you know by now, and I've already said, we're going to Elm Street for this one. This is if you've watched anything from me, you know this is my favorite franchise. Sauce loves this franchise just as much as me. And Nick, what are we? Where are we with Elm Street with you? You're obviously a Halloween guy.
Yeah, but and I get that moniker so much, like, and I know you don't mean that, but like it's like, oh, he's the Halloween guy. I actually had a guy comment on one of my videos the other day, like, you gonna do anything aside from Halloween? And it was a Halloween Kills trailer reaction. I was like, what do you mean? But anyway, so up until about 6 months, a few months ago, I was like, okay, it's Halloween, Nightmare, Friday, and now I'm kind of like Friday. Nightmare? I don't know, but I would say that I will at least say that I'm a big enough fan of this franchise to say I like it more than Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Child's Play, so I would consider myself a pretty big fan of it.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this right off the bat. I think people are going to be surprised. I think people are thinking, oh, God, Christian's just going to give everything 9s. I'm not, because listen to me. I don't know about what Sauce is going to do. I am legitimately going to tackle this objectively. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to give my personal feelings about some of these films, okay? Because I don't want people to think I'm just going to go easy. I'm not going easy. I'm not going easy on this, okay? And but because of that doesn't mean that this franchise doesn't have some all-time staple classics, all right? So let's see. Who should go first? I'm trying to think here.
Why don't we hand it to Sauce?
Sauce, you want to start with your
early? Me.
Come on, Sauce, let's go, man. Earliest memory. Take us back. Earliest memory of Nightmare on Elm Street '84.
84. Maybe I was 4 years old. It's hard for me to honestly, with this franchise in particular, to kind of pinpoint earliest memories because as long as I can remember, it's been a part of my life. My mom was young. She was 17 when she had me, so she was just a young kid watching these movies too. So I was just around them. I remember this one not being a favorite of mine as a kid anyway, mostly because he's not funny. Like, he's just mean, and you don't really see a lot of him. He kind of, until the end, like he kind of stays in the shadows for the most part.
Mm.
Obviously, as I've grown to kind of enjoy films on a deeper level, it's as douchey as that sounds to say. I've come to enjoy this more. I mean, Craven's a master. He's labeled a master for good reason. Like I said,
were we having nightmares at all from this first film when you were a kid?
Not nightmares so much as just like I'd watch them and not want to move. I'd be like afraid to get off the couch. That whole my feet are dangling. That's kind of thing. It's kind of as far as that goes, but never anything like while I was sleeping. I slept fine. The older I got, oddly enough, nightmares would start. Like 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing terrifying, but it just there really wasn't anything until then. But.
So basically, this film's synonymous with your just existence in general. You just remember it being around.
All of them, yeah, really.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you and I are the same age, so like,
29.
They were all but New Nightmare were out before we were born. So,
right. Do you know that this is the first one that you saw, or no?
I don't think it was, but I can't say that for sure.
Yeah.
I do feel like 3 was the first one I saw.
Yeah. Sweet. And we'll get there. We'll get there.
Of course.
So we'll, as you know, we'll do the rating after we each talk about our earliest memory. Nick, 84.
84. As I've said in previous videos, a lot of these movies were shown to me by my mom. And this was another one that was shown to me by my mom. And this was maybe the second or third horror movie I ever saw. The first one I ever saw was The Exorcist. And I remember this not falling far behind that. Yeah, my mom, she took risks with her young children in the movies that she showed them, for sure. And I actually remember I was probably 7 or 8, and she was actually watching it, and I wanted to watch it so bad. And she's like, I don't think you can handle it. And it was on TV, so a lot of the stuff, a lot of the really bad stuff was cut out, although this is pretty tame. But, I was like, no, I can handle it. And unlike Sauce, the nightmare started for me immediately. And not just that, but I remember the first night vividly. I remember the first night I saw it, I did not want to go to sleep that night. And I actually slept in my mom's bed that night. I remember it. And like that was going to help me. But yeah, I mean, it freaked me out like right away. And I've always said that Freddy's the scariest of the big 3. And that's because the other two, Jason's basically a zombie and Michael is a person, but Freddy is like, he's a demon, dude. Like, you're not safe when you're asleep. Like, that's crazy, because what is sleep synonymous with? Rest, relaxation, shutting your mind off. Not if Freddy's there. So, he's always been the scariest to me, the big 3. And 8 years old. And I wasn't about it. I liked it, but it scared the crap out of me.
It's funny. It's funny the way I also, the way how this goes, Nick. I don't tell my guests what we're doing. Yeah. That way, when they come on here, it's fresh and they don't have time to really think about it. It's very natural what they say. I don't study for this either. Like, I haven't thought for one iota of a second any of this. And while we were talking about this, the God's honest truth is the first image I ever saw of Freddy, before the name preceded everything for me. I always knew who Freddy Krueger was. People tell me, he's the guy that would kill you in your dreams. I always knew that from childbirth. I would hear it because Freddy was bigger. The name Freddy Krueger is bigger than the titles of the movies, really. I mean, it's Freddy freaking Krueger. The very first time I ever saw the Freddy face and claw, as embarrassing as it sounds, but I remember this, was watching The Wedding Singer. And I'll never forget when the little kid's wearing a Freddy mask in the house yelling for Aunt Linda. And I remember that was late 90s. And I'm sure there's no way possible I didn't see clips of it throughout my childhood. But I did not watch the movie with full coherent, attention until my late teens, as sad as that sounds. I'm sure I saw clips of it. I always knew who it was. But when we tell the next portion, part 2, everything, and I've told this story a billion times. This will be the last time, I swear to God, I ever tell my part 2 story. It's going to be the last time. But when I tell it for this deal, everything will make sense after this. But yeah, but the truth is, the very first time I saw the face of Freddy that I can remember was in the movie The Wedding Singer. It was when the kid's wearing the damn mask. So, but in terms of the movie goes, I'm guessing we're just going to go ahead and rate it right here. And I'm going to start. Anybody that knows me knows that there's 3 films that every single day swap for my number 1. Every single one. And of course, Sauce, like we're only able to give 1 to 10. All right? I'm giving the original Elm Street a 9.
I knew it.
It's not my favorite today. But it's getting a 9.
I've got a sneaking suspicion that Freddy's Revenge is going to be your favorite today. Like I just have that feeling it's going to be Freddy's Revenge. But I digress. Sauce, what do you give it?
So just refresh me. Are we giving how we feel about the movie, or how we feel like as far as like a completed thing?
I tell you what. I want you to tackle it how you feel comfortable. Okay. I'm going to go up because I suspect everybody thinks I'm just going to go subjectively, and I don't care. I just love it. It makes me feel good. No. I'm gonna grade them objectively. That's what I'm doing, because I'm throwing the audience a curveball, because I don't think they expect me to do that. But I want you to do what you feel is right to you, whether it's how the films make you feel, nostalgia. You rate it the way you want to rate it, and just explain to the people.
So, well, I think this is probably the most well-made of the series, barring one that we'll talk about in a minute or two, I'm sure. Well, I'm positive. That's what we're doing here. It's not my favorite. I don't watch it too often. I'm gonna give it a 7.
7.
And I say that because I'm not gonna give each movie. I'm giving one number to each movie. Like, so there's gonna be 7 or 8, depending on or even 9, I guess, different numbers.
Oh, that's a first.
So there's not going to be 2 of them with that are sitting at 9 or 3 or whatever. So okay. Nightmare 1 gets 7.
I dig it.
I guess I'll go with an objective rating as well. I agree with the point of, is this arguably the most well-made? There is a discussion to be had there. You could definitely make a case for another movie. So objectively and personally, I probably watched this one more than any of them, but it's a 9 for me as well. It is not my favorite.
Wow, not 110. I'm a little surprised about that, but that's awesome. Let me just get it out of the way. Okay, let's start with part 2, and let me just say it. Listen, guys, this is the last time I'm telling this story. It's 2009. It just turns, it's late summer turning into fall. My brother takes me to Spirit Halloween, and I am just engrossed in the store. I'm hooked. I'm like, this is all so cool. Look at all this Freddy stuff. I want to watch these movies. I can't recall ever really watching these films. My mom works next to a Blockbuster at the time. I go home that night, and I was like, hey, Mom, when you come back from work tomorrow, I'm a senior in high school at the time. So, Mom, when you come back from work tomorrow, do you mind grabbing a Nightmare on Elm Street from Blockbuster? She says, no problem. She comes home, and I just believe in fate. She comes home and she says, somebody was renting part 1, but I got you the second one. Is that a problem? And I was like, that's not a problem to me. What I don't care. I watched part 2 in late summer of 2009, and no lie, it scared the shit out of me. That Freddy scared the shit out of me. And just like a lot of people, all the gay shenanigans in the film, right over my head. Completely over my head. Because I was terrified of this movie. Still to this day, that Freddy scares the hell out of me. And that kick-started everything for me. Nightmare 2 is my gateway drug. Unequivocally. And that was... when I hear the year 2009, I instantly think of this. That this is the thing that comes to my mind, is this story. I'll never forget it. I'll probably be 90 years old. Probably because I'll tell it again, even though I don't want to, but... that is my story with Freddy's Revenge. It was my gateway drug for becoming a horror fanatic. And from that time, I've watched at least one horror movie a week easily for 10 plus years now. So that movie gave me a lot. That's my Nightmare 2 story. So who wants to go next?
Nick, go ahead.
All right. I'll take it. Freddy's Revenge, man. Again, anybody that is watching this right now, you're going to remember that I said when we talked Friday, when we talked Halloween, my mom was also the type of person that would say, these are the sequels in this franchise you should like and you should watch. All these other ones suck. And for her, when it came to Nightmare, it was 1 and 3. And I think that was just Heather Langenkamp bias, but I digress. So I didn't watch Freddy's Revenge until I was like 16. And when I first watched it, I hated it. I mean, I hated it. I don't know why I hated it so much. I don't know if it was because I was like, where the hell's Nancy? She's in the next one. She's in the previous one. And we're just going to forget about all that in this one. And I felt like for me, when I was a teenager, it just felt like it didn't fit. And you can still make the argument it doesn't fit because Freddy he's super dark. But now I love that. And I actually rewatched it again, probably for the first time since I was, I don't know, probably 20. I watched it about a year ago and I showed it to Brooke because she had never seen it. And I'm like watching her reaction the whole time. And I'm like, I feel like she's going to hate this. She doesn't love corny movies. And I do. I know both you guys probably do too. You get enjoyment out of them. I asked her at the end, I'm like, so what'd you think? And she was like, I liked it. I was like, damn, I did too. And I've actually watched it like 3 times over the past year because that revisit, I was really like, yeah, man, I dig this movie. So yeah, that's my story is that 16, hated it, grew to appreciate it. Like Halloween 6, I would say. It's very similar to that for me.
Very nice. Sauce?
Well, I mean, just like Nick, first time I saw it, I hated it. And I hated it for years after. Although I saw it probably about 10 years, or 10 years younger, we'll say. It was probably 5, 6, 7, somewhere in that range. I just didn't make any sense, being a fan, again, of the third one, probably at that time, first and foremost. Didn't make sense. The whole he's alive, he's, in the real world. It's not just, kept to the dream world. And it's dumb. It doesn't follow the rules. But if you think about it, when it came out, this is, as an older individual, me thinking this, there were no rules. There was nothing saying he couldn't, whatever, use a human avatar or whatever. So I've grown to enjoy it more. And like you said, Christian, the gay stuff, just totally over my head at the time. 5 or 6, I barely had any idea of what that was. However, the more I watch it, the more I like it. I think every time I watch it, I like it more. It's dark. I think this is one of, the most evil Freddys we get, and there's no real slapstick at all. There's no, he's not telling jokes. He's not, some Catskill comedian.
No.
So it's kind of full tilt, balls to the wall, in the pool party scene, it's fantastic. Forget that it doesn't make sense, with the rules that kind of get thrown into place after the fact. That's probably my favorite scene, if not top 3, we'll say, of the franchise. And it's the iconic line, you're all my children now.
Yeah. I mean, it's also awesome because it's like the dude's like basically telling Freddy, like, hey, chill out, bro.
Yeah.
You gotta love that. And then Robert does like this timed kind of like, help yourself, fucker. And then he looks at me and goes,
just cuts him and throws him. It's terrific.
Yeah.
Sauce, I'm gonna start with you, dude. Right off the bat, rate it.
9. Like I said, the more I watch this, man,
yeah,
I enjoy it, and it's not even hard for me to throw it. Give it a 9, and it's starting to get to the point where might be even pushing upwards from that. But
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm
as a press time going on.
the reason I've enjoyed it more and more as I watch it is because I love Dark Freddy because he was so scary as a kid. I'm like, give me scary Freddy. Like, I'm going 8. I'm going 8. I could easily put this anywhere between 8 and 10. It's one of the ones I watch the most, but I'm going to go 8.
Yeah. Very, very nice. This is my 10. And I'm going to say this. This is my new nightmare. This is my new nightmare. This is the Freddy that's breaking the rules and doing what the hell he wants to do. You got your new nightmare down the road, and it's realistic, it's real worldly, and it's a cool story. But this is the Freddy that the movie Freddy Krueger is like really afraid of. The part 1 Freddy fears this Freddy to me. This Freddy is the devil himself, unequivocally. And even though I'm rating these objectively, here's the thing. This movie is probably one of the worst edited ones. It's probably one of the lesser produced ones. Jack Shoulder, if you watch his other movie he did, The Hidden, it's amazingly edited and directed and stuff. So it's really weird to see this movie, which seems not necessarily sloppy, but like he reuses shots of Grady and Jesse doing the hand push-up stuff in the movie and stuff like that. And it doesn't seem very well produced. But at the same time, the power of this film and the magic of that feeling of this film, somehow it's undeniable. Sometimes I feel that the stars align and things happen. And I think that this film captures a dark shade of gray that never got captured again. And like Saw said, there was no rules yet. It's not, and Wes Craven has been vocal about hating the pool scene. He does not like it. God rest Wes Craven, but Wes, baby, you're wrong. You're just wrong. Because that pool scene scared me more than anything in the first movie. And granted, that's still my opinion, but it's my number 1 because no other film scared me like this one. And that's the bottom line. So this is my 10.
Hell yeah.
There we go. So now we're going to the Dream Warriors. Who wants to... Nick, you start us out. You start us out with Dream Warriors.
All right, let's do it. Dokken, part 3. So again, this was another one that I watched with my mom. And the whole time, I remember it. I was probably like 8 or 9 with this one. She's hyping it up as we're watching it. Oh, it's it's so good. It's so good. And I'm watching it, and I'm really digging it. But I honestly feel like, and I remember this vividly, I felt like I couldn't dig it as much as I wanted to because I was scarred pretty early on I believe it's in the first half of the movie, but I was scarred pretty early on with the marionette veins scene. Dude, no. I mean, that was like, no. I actually remember, I'm not even kidding, I remember like sitting on my couch and looking at my veins in my arm, and I was like, bro, no. Like, who comes up with that? A lot of people hate, I mean, most people love Dream Warriors, but a lot of people do crap on some of the characters, like, oh, it's kind of cheesy, with their powers and stuff. Dude, I loved it. I mean, again, we're talking about a series that hadn't really established its ground rules and its tone yet. And, I mean, you could make the argument that the first 3 are more similar in tone than the next 3, but it didn't really know what it was yet. So, but yeah, I remember that vividly, the veins. I didn't grow an appreciation for Welcome to Prime Time, bitch, until further down the line in life. And now it's one of my favorite kills in a horror movie, and it's not just it's not really that crazy, but it's just so memorable. But yeah, it was the marionette scene, man, and I was about 8 or 9.
Yeah. Well, for me, after I had rented part 2, I then rented part 1 after that, and I loved it. But even at that time, still, I was telling myself, man, that second one was way scarier to me. So when I got to the third one, I was like, what the hell? I mean, you can imagine watching part 2, then 1, you're like, what the hell's coming next? What is this movie going to be? And to me, part 2 was this simple, like, the story was so much more simpler to me, even though there's a lot of nuance of the sexuality and all that. At its face value, the movie seems much more simpler. To me, part 2 was like a AC/DC record that went platinum. It's 4 chords and drinking beer, whatever. When I watched Dream Warriors, I was like, this is like, no pun intended, this is like a Dream Theater album. There's a lot of insane stuff going on in this. And I'm talking obviously about the special effects and the sequences and the guy whose tendons fly out of his arm and he becomes a puppet to Freddy and stuff. And I was like, holy shit, like this is amazing. This is amazing. And I saw when I had initially thought of what Freddy was, this was the movie that was the Freddy that I thought about, because I knew Freddy was vocal, and I loved this one. I love this one so much. I think this is one of the greatest horror movie sequels ever made. I mean, Chuck Russell deserves so much credit, because I got news for people. Wes Craven probably wasn't going to save it if they had gone with what he had. I've read a lot of it. It was really grisly. It was just mean. And I don't think it would have translated to an audience, especially by the mid or latter 80s. Chuck Russell made Freddy grab the pulse of pop culture, for better or for worse. By this point in time, when this movie came out, and now I'm just ranting, Freddy was whooping everybody's ass. Jason couldn't even get a half of what Freddy was making at the box office. I think people forget that. Friday the 13th has a massive fan base more now, but at this time, box office-wise, people wanted to see Freddy.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to see Freddy.
Yeah, Nightmare 3 brought in 45 mil, and I believe by the time, this was what, 87?
87.
Yeah, so at this point, your Friday movies were bringing in like 20 mil.
Which was still good for their budgets. We're talking $1.5 million, $2 million budget. So Friday's still doing great.
Not only for the budget, but for the time as well. Like 20 or 45 million today is, you're going to be in
close to 100
that's at least 100 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because tickets probably $2 back then.
And on top of that, that's just domestic. Yeah. Back in the 80s, they only went off domestic. Fast and Furious 9 did 100 whatever in its first weekend, with most of that being from China.
Yeah.
So like you can't really, it's apples to oranges almost.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but to sum it up what I was saying, from the first time I saw Dream Warriors, I knew I was watching horror greatness to me. I mean, it's amazing. And bringing back Nancy, I quite honestly think this is my favorite Nancy performance. I just love Nancy in this movie. She's the older one. She's a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, but she's more of like the elder statesman who's trying to teach, and I just liked her better in this movie. I appreciated her ferocity in the first one, and she's full of piss and vinegar, and she's going to fight this bastard, and she's scared, but she's not stopping. This one, she was almost like the Mr. Miyagi. Look, guys, hold on. This is what we got to do. I'm telling you, listen to me. And I really liked that. I loved her in this movie. So this is probably my favorite Nancy performance, period. So, yeah, I love this movie so much. Go ahead, Saucy.
I love this. Yeah. I think we're all kind of in the same boat on this one. I remember being, 3-4 years old, renting it from, I don't know, my step aunt's local store. Actually, no, I think it was the first time I was in a Blockbuster, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
We rented this movie, grabbed a pizza, some popcorn,
Ooh.
A sleeping bag in the living room kind of thing, dude. And yeah, I was hooked immediately. I had Dream Warriors stuck in my head for days afterwards. This is, mind you, like I said, I was 4 years old. I didn't know that, that's a real band. I figured, yeah, people put songs, they just make songs for movies.
Right.
So I didn't know for years later that Dokken was like an actual thing, and they were famous, and, they had more shit I could have been listening to. But
yeah.
I love everything about this movie. People shit on it. Oh, it's this is where he started to get corny and make jokes. No. Yeah, he talked a little more. He's fucking mean about everything he does. There's no smile on his face when he says "Welcome to Primetime, bitch."
Oh, he's pissed off.
He's angry, and he's looking. He's looking for blood.
Yeah. He's got the snarl. His nose does this the whole time. It means that's true. I get it. People love that mean Freddy, But guess what? And I'm not saying they're necessarily wrong. Oh, this was the turning point.
It was the beginning of like this was like, oh, we can. They liked this. Let's turn it up.
Yeah, they basically were like, we gave Freddie more lines and people liked it. So what if we just give him a shitload more lines? Yeah, and basically make it his movies. So.
But at the same time, though, I do think that there was a balancing act. And even though I don't think you could keep it up for very much movies, because people are going to get bored one way or the other, this was like that perfect mixed drink. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it was like that. It was like the sledgehammer was invented for the first time.
It's gonna fuck you up, but you're not gonna taste it.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, just speak on the Wes Craven script quickly. I don't know. Have you read the whole thing? Have you gotten? It's
been years, but I remember when I watched Never Sleep Again, I sought this thing out, and he's he's calling girls the C word. Freddie is pissing on graves and shitting on graves.
My senior year of high school, I actually decided to waste a bunch of their paper. I printed the script off, 50, 60 pages, whatever it was. Maybe more than that even. It probably was more than that. I don't remember, but it was just, like this thick. And I read it in. He's a lot meaner, for sure. And there's something to say for that. That might have been good, but there's no character development for any of the people that are killed. Like, you don't care about any of them. Like, so they die, and it's like, okay, good. Dead. Next. So, and I think that's one of the best things about Dream Warriors is how much you connect and almost immediately connect with each and every teen in the movie, even Dr. Gordon and obviously Nancy, of course, like you said. I think this is certainly her best outing, I guess.
Lawrence Fishburne's in it.
Larry Fishburne is in it. But with Will, you kind of, I know like a D&D nerd, as a sculptor kid, kind of the kid that's good with his hands or whatever. Kincaid is my favorite person, my favorite character in any movie I've ever seen. I fucking love Kincaid. He's a sarcastic, mouthy, angry dude. And I get that, I as an adult, especially, I identify a lot with that, Plus he could bend a chair,
Who's rating it first?
I'll rate it first.
I already know.
I'm giving it a 10. It's my 10.
Very
10
good.
here too.
Yeah. I would love to give this one a 10 as well. And again, I think this is probably one of the greatest sequels ever. But damn it, I still think that about part 2. Even though it's much more of a simple movie, I think that Freddy will haunt my dreams. That's the last Freddy I want to run into in my life. With that being said, though, this movie is obviously it's a 9 for me, of course. But this movie, I think, is the pinnacle of 80s horror in a lot of ways. I mean, it tapped what people fell in love with this decade so much in so many ways. And I mean, Dokken, it's a shame that they broke up not long after this, because one more album and they'd be played on the radio every day till this day on every classic rock station. I mean, they're a platinum selling band. They're huge, but they would have crossed that pantheon if they would have stuck together after this, because this song was huge. My dad tells me all the time how he used to hear it every day, but awesome. So this is where it gets interesting. Dream Master, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. Who wants to go first with Dream Master?
Why don't you take it?
Perfectly fine.
Take it.
The truth is, I really liked this one. First time I watched it, I did. Obviously, it was blaring. I was like, okay, that's not Patricia Arquette. I don't like this girl as much, but she's still kind of cute. I still kind of feel for this girl. She's kind of got like that creepy vibe to her. But I call this movie. Let me finish. I liked this movie. I loved the soundtrack. To me, the Elm Street movies have the greatest soundtracks ever. When I first heard when Tuesday's Driving, I was like, okay, what song is that? Divinals, Off the Wall record, buy it. Boom. I love the Divinals now. When I heard Dramarama, okay, what's that song when he's punching the bag, doing a karate? Dramarama, anything. Oh God, God, let me go buy the soundtrack on vinyl. So I bought it. Then I found the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, which they have a great song that wasn't really in the movie. I think you might barely hear it in a small section. I fell in love with the music. But one thing that was interesting to me, and what I'm sure I can't really take credit for this. I haven't heard anybody else call the movie this, but I call it this. I call it Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Daydream Master, because it seems like so much of the movie takes place in the daytime, which isn't a knock, but it's interesting that that's what they went for with this one. You got a movie called Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's about falling asleep. But at the same time, I can kind of appreciate that because they're trying to stay awake. So when it's nighttime, they're not going to sleep. So eventually they got to pass out. So the kids are falling asleep in the daytime. Not all of the movie takes place in the daytime. But I really like this movie, but I could tell this was the part 3 I do think was a turning point. But we are curving hard by this one. I can see, okay, well, I liked this one a lot. And I loved the look of Freddy. He looked real like sucked in and like really dry. And Robert looked like he was like probably at his thinnest at this point, which I always thought worked for Freddy because if I just don't think demons would have any fat on them. You know what I mean? As weird as that sounds. I think this is a full-fledged horror comedy to me. Well, I would say probably about 70% horror comedy. I loved the visuals of this movie. I do think Rennie Harlan's talent shows. Super talented guy. I love Wanna Suck Face. Love that scene so much. The cockroach scene. The special. It's another special effect extravaganza. And this movie, I'll save the rest of it for when we rate it. But I definitely enjoyed this movie. But I really enjoyed the peripherals even more than the movie itself. A.e. the music. And some of the look of Freddy and things like that. But still, I had fallen in love with every Elm Street up to this point. So I was so happy when I rented Part 4. I was like, this is awesome. Does it ever get bad? I mean, this is all great to me. So yeah, I loved Part 4. I don't love it as much as 3, but I loved Part 4.
Yeah, this was a rental from Blockbuster, a rental that I had to convince my mom to allow us to rent because she had no interest in seeing it. And I was probably like 9 or 10. And, we used to go, as everybody did, a lot of people did. You'd go on a Friday night or whatever. You'd get a handful of movies from Blockbuster and you'd try to throw one or two of your suggestions. And they're like, oh, Mom, rent this one. This was one of those. And, I remember watching it, and this was obviously when Freddie's stand-up comedy career took off. And I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was really engaging and really entertaining, but I definitely was like, even as a child, I was like, this wasn't scary. Like, I was not freaked out at all by it. I was more just enjoying it and entertained by it. But yeah, I'll get to a little bit more when I do my rating, like you said. But yeah, it was a Blockbuster rental that I did not regret because it gave me quite a few laughs.
Mm-hmm.
Sayonara, Rickson! You talked about it being kind of a special effects extravaganza, which is true everywhere except that scene, unfortunately. I don't mind that scene. I think it's maybe not as good as it could have been. That there was talk of some kind of like elevator catastrophe, but I think for Rick, the martial arts enthusiast, that kind of fit. Other than the fact that he's taking big old
wrestling punches,
as the actor says, big old John Wayne swings. It was cool. And eventually he's like, all right, let me find my inner calm, and he's able to kick the glove off. And unfortunately, it doesn't end terribly well for him. That aside, I love this movie. Not as much as Dream Warriors or Part 2 at this point, but this was easily like 1A growing up. Because it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Like Nick said, it's not really that scary. I guess maybe to a kid of a certain age or someone that hadn't been exposed to it, it could be. But by this time, you get a sense of what he was becoming, and it's a good time. A lot of people shit on this one, and this one is the one that people that you got too funny. Well, okay, I'll grant them that, but to say that it's not a good time still is asinine to me. It doesn't hold any water.
Well, and I feel like that's an unfair criticism too, because this was the first time Freddie was that far out of left field. So if you want to say when you get to Dream Child or Freddy's Dead, oh, he's too funny, I get that, because then at that point you could say, well, it's been overdone. Right. But in this one, it was the first time you really got to see that full-fledged funny Freddy. So, I mean, you try it. If you like it, cool. If you don't, what's there really? You can't be like, oh, this is, when the franchise just got ridiculous. Because no, they tried something new. Yeah. It was enjoyable. Like, did it get overplayed later?
It's so entertaining. I mean, the more I think about Part 4, here's what I think the majority of fans think, and here's me. So many people that, like Sauce was saying, like, dude, by 4 it was Comedy Central, screw that, blah blah blah. Then you got guys like me that are so obsessed with this franchise, and a year ago somebody got the master tape from Joe Lamont's Pride and Joy, which plays in the diner scene, and I love the song, and I've been dying to hear it. And somebody who knew Joe Lamont got the master tape for that song, which was never released, ever. It was made for the movie and got put on YouTube, and I cried when I finally was able to hear the song because I love it so much. Joe Lamont, he has a great record. Joe Lamont obviously also did work for Eternal Living Dead 2, so I love Joe. And when I heard that's me, okay. So that when people need to understand, that's where I'm coming from when I say I love this franchise. I searched this stuff out so hard, and I think, like Sauce said, I am deathly entertained by Part 4.
There's no way you can't be.
Every scene is pure adrenaline insanity. The pizza scene, the Chest of Souls, which famously has one Linnea Quigley's beautiful titties.
Yes.
Pressed up against Freddy's chest.
Linnea.
Everybody that's ever watched the documentaries can remember that. Linnea, push your chest out. And all of a sudden you just see Linnea. Like,
yep.
But dude, I mean, go ahead.
If you want to talk that soundtrack, you can't. You got to shout out Billy Idol. That Fatal Charm. I love that song.
I got to cover that.
Put your hands on me.
Sinead O'Connor,
fantastic.
It doesn't stop there. You've also got Go West. Don't be afraid of your dreams. Gorgeous, gorgeous song. I mean, the soundtrack for Part 4. Even though, Nick, you got some homework to do on this. Even though half of the songs really aren't in the movie, I tell people the soundtracks for these movies are unmatched by any other franchise in the world to me. I mean, they have Part 4 and 5 for me have some of the greatest soundtracks ever on
the
vinyl.
Fat Boys. Fat Boys. I mean,
when my buddy Kalen gave me the 12-inch for Are You Ready for Freddy, I almost crapped my pants. I played it like 7 times. So as it got done, I started it again, and I flipped it over and did the club mix, which is like 3 minutes of no vocals yet. Then it finally kicks in. Oh man, the soundtracks are unmatched, and of course there's the Will Smith song that New Line was like, hey. No, they were going to use it, but then they're like, no affiliation. So when you watch the music video for the Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff song,
Nightmare on My Street,
there's like a disclaimer in the original music video saying this has no affiliation with the movie Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 Dream Master. And I was like, what is going on with that? And the research I found was something happened, and New Line were like, I don't know if it was a money thing or whatever, but they ended up going with the Fat Boys, which I still struggle which one I like more. I love both versions.
I'll say this hands down, I like the Fat Boys.
You like the Fat Boys? Fat Boys has a great
love that bass.
They're great, and I love beatbox. That was always my favorite.
I was going to say, Freddie doesn't beatbox in Nightmare on My Street.
So great stuff. See, Nick, I told you, me and Sauce are marking out here.
I mean, you won't get any argument from me when it comes to the soundtracks, because let's be honest, like, we can talk about how the score of Halloween or Friday the 13th is fantastic, but they didn't really ever implement much music. Yeah, whereas it seemed like Nightmare just leaned heavily into that. It was and it worked. I mean, you just have to start with freaking when you think of Nightmare on Elm Street 3, one of the top 3 things you think of is Dokken. Yeah. So like you don't get that with Halloween or Friday. So
not only that, I can't believe I didn't mention this. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 is the reason thousands of white boys like me and Sauce love Fonda Ray.
Yeah.
You know? Ooh, like there's no reason we should listen to that song. But you damn right when Sauce is driving to work or whatever, he is cranking all night long. Bow, 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 bow,
like
bow,
the
bow,
10-minute
club mix, yeah. Oh
Absolutely.
man. Like I said, yeah, like dude, we could do a whole stream just on this, just the music. But
real quick, I want to say though, I listened to that whole song from front to back before I did the Freddy's Revenge video I put out last week.
Was
it? Yeah, it was last week. I just you had to get in that. You had to get in that space, man.
And does the song seem spooky to you when you listen to it? Like, is there it's for me? It's like I can't help it. I always feel a little creeped out when I hear the song.
Because I don't really think of that scene of the movie. I honestly just think about all the oppressive heat in that movie.
Yes,
I forgot to talk about.
Yes,
it's just like everything. They went and kind of, hey, look, this records melted and whatever, but like they sweat constantly in that movie. Like it's gross.
Yeah,
and I just like that's kind of what I think. I just sweating. And that might be the whole different kind of sweat with Fonda Ray, but
All right, Sauce. Let's start with you, man. What are you rating A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 of the Dream Master? Which I have a lovely store display over here.
That if somehow Christian dies before me, I do get.
If I die, you get part 2, you get part 4, and you get Baby Fred.
Oh,
but I'm better not die.
I hope you don't. I mean, all things considered, but at least there's a silver lining if you do. But I'm gonna give Dream Master an 8.
Wow.
Like I said, I'm not being, objective like you guys necessarily. I mean, there's an element of that, but I love this movie. It's fun. This was, like I said, growing up, this was 1A. It was always Dream Warriors, and it still is technically, but Dream Master was right there, and over time, Freddy's Revenge kind of snuck in, but this movie I have just as much fun with this one as I do part 3, and I think Alice Johnson might be my favorite final girl, like in horror, period.
Very cool. There we go. Nick, you want to go next? You want me to go?
Yeah. I'll go a little more subjective here. If I was going to go objective, I'd probably go the route of like 6. If I'm going to go subjective, I'm going to say 7. And that's just because I really do find enjoyment in the movie, and it's grown on me as time has gone on. Because like I said, I did enjoy it the first time, but it was definitely different. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 7. I think it's fun.
Very, very cool. What did I give? So I gave Nightmare 1 a 9, Nightmare 2 a 10, and Nightmare 3 a 9. I'm going to stick with a 7 too. I think calling this the 1A is very much how I feel about it too. But the damnedest thing about part 4, whenever I do put it on, it's I forget how much fun I have when I watch it. Because I know it's cemented in my brain how much I love 2. I know that when I watch 2, it's going to deliver every time. That Freddy's going to come after me. And part 3 is probably one of the most well-made sequels ever. But damn it, part 4 is just as well made. It's just not as good of a movie. Sometimes those stars just don't align perfectly. You've got a new cast. You killed off a cast that you fell in love with. Yeah. You didn't get the girl back that you fell in love with. Everybody loves Patricia.
Yeah, I think, too, if they had thrown Patricia in there, if they had been able to get her, and everything else in the movie the same way, I think emotionally they're, it kind of jacks up the stakes a whole bunch.
I think so.
Because Tuesday night, yeah, like you said, she's pretty, whatever, you start to fall for her a little bit, but
I mean, I wish we could have
everybody fell for Patricia Arquette.
And the thing about part 4, I think that does bother me a little bit is, damn it, why couldn't we have kept the brother? I loved the karate brother. I wanted him, and I wanted him to keep going. He could have helped out 5 so much, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
I think we are
Dream,
there.
the Dream Child. Do y'all want me to just go ahead and let me get this out of the way? Do y'all want
Do
me
it.
to go first?
Hey,
Come on, baby Freddie, do it.
Again, okay. So naturally, I had rented. You know, around this time, it's hard to say. I had either just started buying these movies, or I finished renting the Nightmares. It's hard to say because once I got hooked, my money was going towards these movies, one way or the other. So I either bought this movie and watched it the first time, or rented it. And this is the God's honest truth. The first time I watched Dream Child, I was just like, I feel the steam's run out a little bit. And I don't think I'm wrong. I do think the steam's ran out. I'm still a little confused to this very day about the story and how it really makes sense, because I don't think it makes total sense. She's pregnant, but it's not Freddy, but the baby's so the baby's having dreams, and so Freddy's invading her dreams. Whatever. Stop, Christian. Just watch the movie. Like that's, and I think that's fair. But the bottom line is this, and I'm just going to get it all out right now. New Line completely rushed the hell out of this movie. They picked a script that they already denied before. Let's keep this in mind. They got a great director. He is very talented. He gave this movie its own look. I really dig the gothic look. There are things about this movie. I think Freddy is amazing in this film. I love Chef Freddy. Bon appetit, bitch. I love baby Freddy, obviously, because he's disgusting looking. I mean, look at him. He's gross as hell looking. I wish you just saw him a little bit more in the movie. I think that Freddy is still... I think Freddy was producing gold albums in this movie instead of platinum albums like he was before. And that's not really anybody's fault but the script. I think Robert can only do what he can with what he's given on paper. He ad-libs and does his thing. I mean, it's hard to compete with less than a year's time than when you have great scenes with a naked broad swimming up to a waterbed and then Freddy jumping up and giving the house is for a wet dream. It's hard to top that kind of humor in a rushed production with a mature theme movie. This movie's really weird, but there are still things that I love, and I urge everybody, and I'm just going to get this, we won't do this for the rest of them, but I'm just going to get this out, and I'm going to rate it too, and you guys can do the same for this one. I urge people to at least go out of their way to see the uncut version of this film.
Absolutely.
Because a scene that seems really tame and boring, like Dan turning into the motorbike, is extremely painful when you see the uncut version. A scene like Greta eating herself. I mean, this movie has themes of anorexia in it, for God's sakes. Like I said, this is a weird movie. You know, you go from this completely bright comedic film to this gothic film about, do I kill my baby? I'm not eating. I'm anorexic because my mom wants me to be a beauty queen. There's weird themes going on with this film all over the place. But scenes like Greta, where Freddy starts to literally take the spoon and dig into her own stomach and refeed it to herself. It's disgusting. I love my Laserdisc. When I watch Part 5, you damn well know I'm watching my uncut version of this movie. But it's still a rushed movie. The steam has run off a little bit. And the only people that are responsible for this is New Line, because they couldn't help themselves. But I still think Freddy is great in this film. I like Alice in this movie. I like Greta in this movie, quite frankly. And I like the comic book kid. I really like a lot of the characters. Really about the same as 4. But 4 seemed a little bit more cohesive, and it seemed more meat on the bone. But the thing about this, I'm almost done, guys. But the thing about this movie, the soundtrack is amazing, but none of it is in the movie.
Yeah.
You've got Bruce Dickinson, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. You've got Wasp. You've got Slave Raider. You've got Mammoth with one of the coolest songs, Can't Take the Hurt. And if you haven't seen what the band looked like, you need to look up the music video. It's a bunch of obese guys, and I'm talking they're big. It's a bunch of Dan Connors in a hair metal band.
Damn.
You've got great late 80s hip-hop, chub rock. Great stuff.
Cool Mo D.
I enjoy this film a lot. Most of it's peripheral. I enjoy this film for Freddie, and I enjoy this film for the peripheral stuff like the music a lot. And I enjoy the uncut kill scenes. And I'm just going to go ahead and rate it. I gave Dream Master a 7. I'm giving Dream Child, as much as it sucks, I got to give this one a 5. Because as much as I love a lot of the stuff about this film, and I will take this film to my grave, I love it. Objectively, New Line handicapped every single person involved with the making of this movie. I'm done.
Yeah. I can't tell you the first time I saw it because I genuinely don't remember. And I think that is because I didn't like it. And although I have come around on a few things, and part of that is from Christian. Yeah, Baby Freddy's creepy as hell. It's an ugly bastard. There are some cool kills. Freddy, again, we are now neck deep into, Comedy Central Freddy. But you enjoy it. You enjoy him. I mean, Robert steals the show anytime he's on screen, no matter what he's given. Now, you can still say the material that he was given isn't great, but he steals the show. But yeah, it's funny that you say that because I didn't want to. I was like, I'm going to give this the lowest rating. I know it. I'm giving it a 5. And objectively, I think that's fair. There was some cool stuff. I love the scene, Dan's scene. I really enjoy Alice, just the character in general. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that just feels really weird that doesn't necessarily fit or make sense. And I get it. Like you said, New Line was like, we have to pump out another one. And it shows. So I'm going to give it a 5.
Take it away, Sauce.
I don't know. I don't like this one a lot. It's not the worst of the series. We still haven't hit that nadir, but it's not great. Like Christian said, though, the uncut version is, can't say light years better because it's only a minute or two longer. But
just real quick, Sauce, I don't want to cut you off. If I was rating the uncut version, I'm not, obviously, because the average person doesn't see that. I would bump it up a number because the uncut kills are disgusting.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So to take that into account, the fact that we're not rating that, unfortunately, it does drop it down a bunch. Baby Freddy's great. The one thing that always bugged me, especially as a child, is when Baby Freddy grows into the clothes. He's got that one arm that's like 6 feet long. Why wouldn't he have, completed the transformation? It's stupid.
Again,
nothing
makes sense.
No, nothing makes sense. Although I will say, as far as the baby dreaming and having nightmares affecting Alice, they're connected. The same way when Alice eats, it feeds the baby. I think that's, scientifically, I think that's the only way you can get away with that.
That's the equivalent of the cruise ship getting to Manhattan,
right?
Basically.
Yeah, you have to okay, sure. The characters are great. That's one thing I think this series has, just kind of from beginning to end, with very few blemishes. The characters are always ones you like. Yvonne, as a kid, I thought Yvonne was just kind of bitchy and mean, but she cares about her friend. She thinks her friend's going nuts. So as an adult, I get it. That Mark's the comic book death is beautiful. Super Freddy aside, whatever. It fits with the comic book thing, I suppose. But that's one of the big ones I would personally point out. It's like, all right, that's a little much, but You know, kind of him getting slashed and the color draining from him is so cool.
Freddy on a skateboard.
Told you comic books was bad for you. But the ending is terrible. The ending of this movie is bad. Like, it's not a great script, as we've said, but the ending is just like the worst of a bad script. And as far as them rushing it, they were changing the script daily.
It's a mess.
So like, I think one of them said, I don't remember who it was. He said, "Yeah, I didn't bother learning my lines because I knew I'd be handed a new sheet as soon as I got to the set."
Right.
You know, but thematically, this is a pretty heavy movie. I mean, they talk about, I don't want to kill your guys' monetization or whatever. So the schmorshman, like that's
well, yeah.
certainly up there. Giving the baby up for adoption, drinking and driving is brought up, like you said, the anorexia. Like, there's a lot of shit, man. Like, it's a heavy movie if you really look at it. But like, none of it really came together. Freddy's great, like you said. The soundtrack's killer.
Despite the fact that none of it's in the
film.
Right.
So I'm going to give it, like Nick, a 5.
3 5s. That's 3 5s.
Yeah.
And it really, I'm sure people are probably like, God, Christian, really? I like the movie. Don't get me wrong, but I have to be honest. New Line screwed the pooch on this. They rushed it so fast. I think even on 4.
Even 4 was rushed, but
they had a release that they were, I think Howard Berger, Nick, I don't know if you've seen the Never Sleep Again documentary. Howard Berger says, dude, the movie comes out in 2 weeks, but we have a pickup date. We gotta go film something, man. Dude, the movie comes out in 2 weeks. We gotta go film this. So just imagine 5.
Yeah.
Everybody that was involved in this film, the director said, if I would have looked at a schedule today of what they wanted me to do, I would have not even questioned of not doing it. The fact that I did this blows my mind. I mean, seriously, there is no way this guy got 8 hours of sleep one time during this period.
But I do have to say, I kind of echo your sentiments, Christian. Stephen Hopkins did a fantastic job with what he was given. The gothic shit works great. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen. Like Nick, I'm not sure if you have all his storyboard drawings.
Amazing.
They're gorgeous. Storyboard drawings.
Yes,
they're fantastic. Like this movie had a lot of potential when you look at the parts, but it's one of those things with it's adding all that shit together, you end up with a negative number somehow. I don't get it, but that's another reason as a kid I didn't like this, because this is the only one my sister would watch. So like if she was around or not, like in a room or something, I could only put, because it had a baby in it. So I also just kind of like a tangential kind of hatred for it.
Yeah.
But
man.
5. I think 5 is fair, I think.
But Baby Freddy is a 10. We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Baby Freddy's a
10 plus.
All right. Now, I see I'm a little irked right now. This is where things get interesting. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Nick, go ahead.
So I know at some point I saw this movie. I know I did, but I couldn't remember. So I rewatched it about a month and a half ago. And halfway through the movie, I found myself on my phone. I just didn't care what was happening on screen at all. I really didn't. I tore myself away from my phone. I was like, no, just watch it, give it a shot. And at the end, the way it ends, just like, Freddy's dead. I mean, that ending just encapsulated how I felt about the movie. I literally said when I did my franchise ranking, I said, when I watched this movie, I wanted to be Freddy dead. And maybe and I know, Christian, I know you have a soft spot for it. And that's a lot of it's nostalgia driven. So I'll never hate on you for that. But I will just go ahead and give my ranking right out there. When it comes to the worst movie in the big 3, a lot of people would say Jason X. A lot of people would say Halloween Resurrection for those 2 franchises. Freddy's Dead is by far the worst in Nightmare. And I think it's worse than those 2 movies as well, because it makes the cardinal sin, I think, that you can make, which is just being boring. I don't like the movie. Just Robert Englund. Because of Robert, I'll give it a 2. But I really.
But he don't like it.
No.
I think that's you are echoing millions right now.
Yeah. So
Sauce, I'm gonna go last, so I'm gonna let you have the floor.
I liked it when I was a kid. You know, I mean, like, you know, it's a Looney Tunes cartoon. You
Right.
know, and there's a lot to be said about that. But this is hands down like the furthest they've strayed into Comedy Central, as Nick has said, and it's bad. It's bad, but like it's gone fucking sour at this point. You know, this cat, like the teens in this movie, I don't give a shit about any of them. I don't. I do not care. I'm one that actually I do like the video game death. Visually, I think that's cool, and that's very much in the dreamscape. Like, I don't think there's any real reason to shit on that. Now that you forgot the power glove, that's okay. You didn't have to take it that far, but you know, and what's her face? Old scary cherry bang bang. Whatever. Leslie, was it Dean? No, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, whatever the fuck. The freak from the documentary.
The one with the girl like sitting on her lap like a dog.
Yeah, the little pet girl. Yeah, I don't like the character. There's really not much. This is Freddy's worst makeup by far, I think.
He's barely. It's like there's a light. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize, but like he's barely burnt. It almost looks like Dr. Loomis in 4.
and it honestly, 5's not much better, but it's still better. I mean, I don't know, because that's David Miller in 5 doing the makeup, but Freddy doesn't look that good. He looks much better in 3 and 4, but 6 is I think 10 times worse than 5 even, to the point where 6 almost looks like, all right, well, Robert, we got you a mask this time, so you don't have to sit in makeup. We'll kind of, glue down the neck a little bit for you.
He looks cartoonish. Is that a safe? He looks like a cartoon.
I'd say that, yeah. It's like a caricature of Freddy.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. The backstory thing is all stupid. I would have loved, not now, you really can't do it now, like a sort of a prequel, kind of. I like the idea of Robert out of the makeup. Of Fred Krueger, just the Springwood slasher. Something along those lines, maybe something leading up to, all right, then fucking setting him on fire is the end of the movie. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. We got fucking, Rachel Talalay going, oh, I love John Waters, so here's this pile of shit. As a kid, though, one of my favorite things on the planet is when he pulls out that chalkboard and he's, taking the glove to it, and he's humping the fucking thing.
Yeah.
It just made me laugh. It's like, oh, that's great. But as an adult, Matt, I really don't have a whole lot of love for this movie. I can still watch it. It's something I'll put on for like background noise. But because there are still a couple left, I can't give it anything worse than a 3.
So that's your 3 and a 2. Oh my god. God almighty. All right, so for me, Freddy's Dead. I do remember renting this one from Blockbuster, and I remember, now that I'm thinking about it, I watched this one before 5 and 4. I don't know why. I'm sure that they were either rented or something, and I remember this one was so jarring. I was like, what the hell happened between the first one and this one? It was jarring. Did not like it at all the first time I watched it. I was probably like Nick. Granted, I was opening my flip phone at the time or sliding it up, those kinds of phones at the time. You just slide it up and you get the little keyboard. And then I wrote it off. And then when I bought the movies over the years again, I bought the movie soon after that, I would revisit it. And the love I had for the franchise so much, I would make myself go back to Freddy's Dead, and I would... Here's the thing. Let me rate it. Objectively, I'm sticking with a 5 again. But subjectively, the same way as Dream Child, I just love these damn movies. I just love these damn movies. One thing that always bothered me whenever I watch the film and I see Breckin Meyer, he's got his bangs right here and he's got a ponytail. I'm like, dude, just get rid of the ponytail. Like, decide, put the bangs in the ponytail or pull out the ponytail. Figure it out. Because the bangs and then in a little ponytail, you got to do something with it, Breckin. And I love Breckin Meyer. He has been in some funny ass movies like Rat Race and stuff.
Road Trip. I love Road Trip.
I don't know, man. I binged these movies over the last 3 or 4 days in preparation for this. Without again, not thinking about my memory, but just watching the movies. I love these movies. I genuinely love these movies, but objectively, yeah, we've gone off the beaten path big time. And my biggest complaint is they should have gone for way more 3D with the tone that they went with. I think if they had gone with a more full-fledged 3D, I would appreciate this film even more. But let's get one goddamn thing straight. The soundtrack to this movie is bad fucking ass. I'm talking probably the best. Goo Goo Dolls, real Goo Goo Dolls. You've got amazing songs from Iggy Pop. You've got Johnny Law, who, I mean, kick-ass songs. Kick-ass early 90s rock songs. The heartbeat before Nirvana. That weird moment between hair metal and grunge. And you had these bands that were like trying to figure out what was working. And they were doing like these 80s style kind of riffs, but they were singing in a more guttural voice. It was really cool stuff. The music is amazing for this movie. I mean, when you hear, regardless of what you feel about this movie, Nick, when you hear that ba-na-na-na-na-na-na, and then you see the with the letters coming up, I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah.
There are, again, even though some of these movies take off, they stray so far from where we started, there are always moments in these films that you say, that's cool. That was cool. And I still love Freddy's Dead the same way I love Dream Child, but objectively, I think they needed way more 3D. I think if they had gone the 3D route, I think this film would have much more of a softer touch on people's hearts. I think a lot more people would say, "Hey, dude, it's all 3D." I mean, he's funny, but dude, look, that scene where the kid gets hit by the bus and the bus is flying at you. Imagine that. Because what kind of movie do you have where there's a moment where the actor puts the glasses on and you're supposed to, no. You got to make a 3D movie, guys. I think they dropped the ball big time on that. And I've never talked about that before, but that's true how I feel. So 5 for me.
Let me just kind of run with that real quick, Christian.
Nick is having weird technical difficulties, so his audio is going to be a little lesser. He's going to be using his camera from his phone stuff, but he'll talk up so you can hear him. But we got to roll on. This is Monday Night Raw. This is how it happens. You know, nothing. Yeah, the show must go on. So Sauce.
Quickly, I wanted to run with that 3D concept of yours. I think you're completely correct when you say that the movie would be looked back on more fondly had the whole thing been 3D. You know, than just that last 15 minutes or whatever with the sperm demons. Yeah. Because not for nothing, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings here, but if you look at Friday the 13th Part 3, that's kind of a shitty movie. You know, it's not the worst of the series by any stretch, but like if you don't take into account that, you know, the lights are shit, you know, everything's way overlit. I mean, out of necessity. And the gags are kind of shitty because we got to run this snake on a line so it'll hit right in the center of the camera, you know. I like it's not, maybe shitty's not the right word, but that movie I think gets a big pass on a lot of its flaws because it's in 3D. So I mean, there's just inherently Freddy's Dead would get a pass at least on some level. I mean, granted, there is still a lot of that. He's corny. He's, you know, Looney Tunes character at this point. There's stuff that probably, you know, they'd still talk about. But I mean, like you said, with the bus scene, that bus coming at you in 3D, even if it's shitty red and blue 3D or red and green, whatever, that's going to be a lot cooler than, okay, just 2D bullshit.
Yeah, I think that was a big missed opportunity. I mean, the more I think about it, and you don't hear that talked about a whole lot, but I mean,
And what other movie has like, all right, just this part's in 3D, guys?
and they had to explain to the audience. Like, I'm sure whoever, if you're watching this right now, please verify. When you were in the theater seeing this, was there a disclaimer in the movie that says when the main actress takes the 3D glass, she has 3D glasses, red and blue in the freaking movie? I mean, to me, that is so laughable. That's the most B movie thing I've ever seen in my life in a bigger budget horror movie. I can laugh at how ridiculous that is, but on another level, I'm just like, this is really dropping the ball on what we could have done. Why did you not? And I think because of Rachel directing this, and I think this was her first time directing anything, if memory serves. Total missed opportunity. If you were going out with a bang, I can really appreciate keeping it in the family the way the Saw movies did. And okay, you direct this one next. Hey, you direct.
I love that New Line did that. And I just think she should have been told no, as far as no, you can't make it. This can't be. She did. I mean, visually, it doesn't look bad.
It's very glossy. Yeah.
Like it's a nice looking movie. Freddy doesn't look great, as I said, but the movie looks nice. She did a good job as far as that goes, but putting a lot of that John Waters horse shit. I'm not a fan of John. I like him. He's funny. To hear him in interviews or whatever, but not a big fan of his movies, to be totally honest.
So the lowest ratings, I think I stuck with a 5. The 5 is my lowest. I gave Dream Child and Freddy's Dead a 5, but they're tough love 5s for me. Okay, I love them. So I guess we're moving on to 1994, only 3 years after Freddy's Dead. New Nightmare. Who wants to start out with their first viewing of New Nightmare? Who wants to do it?
I'll do it. I don't really remember the first one. Like I said, they've always all kind of just been there, as long as I can remember. This might have been one of the... I might have seen this before, like 4, 5, and 6, just because, I would have been 2 when it came out. So I probably would have saw it the year after it came out, whenever it came to video, whenever that was. Because, we lived in a spot where all we had to do was walk the other side of the parking lot to get to the video store. $1 a night rental type shit, just mom and pop. It was beautiful. I missed that place a lot. But I thought it was cool. I liked the kid. Miko Hughes. He was great in Pet Sematary. It was cool. I had a cousin named Dylan. So it was oh, that's awesome. It was just it was a dumb little thing that could connect me. And I liked this movie a lot. Plus the fact that I was a little kid. So it's I'm not a teenager. I can totally identify with a, 4 or 5-year-old, whatever he was. Heather's always great, especially I think this is probably her strongest acting role. I think the character was better in 3. Granted, though, she's just Heather for the most of the movie, but I don't know. They blend the lines pretty good. There's not many deaths in this movie, which kind of bummed me out. I think even as a young kid.
You were wanting death even as a young child.
Well, it's a horror movie, man. Come on now.
Horror movie. But
I think they improved upon Tina's death in the first one.
Yeah.
Showing him actually climbing up and dragging her around, man. That one got me. And then the doctor lady, the hell's her name? I can't think of it. But she's kind of she's a big woman. She's intimidating. And then you hear Freddy's voice come out of her. It's oh, shit. I love the highway sequence. But I don't know. This movie has lost my favor over time. I think the more I watch it, and the fact that he did this movie better 2 years later with Scream, Wes Craven I'm talking about, of
Mm.
course.
Mm.
All that stuff is kind of, it's soured it a little bit. There's things that I like I said, it needed a higher body count. What we got was pretty good. I think the dad's death could have been better. That was kind of lame. You don't see much. But I mean, you get him scratching at his cock, which is kind of funny. But I don't know. Like, this is honestly, I don't feel too strongly one way or another about this one.
Yeah. Well, save your rating.
I will. Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah.
Let that simmer for a second.
Yes, sir.
Let that simmer. Nick, take me back to New Nightmare.
Early 2000s, on TV. I don't know if it was Monster Fest or USA or whatever it was, and was super confused. I mean, like, the first hour of this movie, I'm like, what? Why are they calling her Heather? Like, it was really weird for me the first time I watched it. So I couldn't really get into it. The years went on. I understood what they were doing. Browsing the internet can work wonders sometimes to understand what the hell's going on in a movie. And rewatching it over and over again, and it's in my top 3 of the franchise. And I think that's because, like Sauce said, this might be Heather Langenkamp's one of her best acting performances. There's more of a study on her psyche, and the meta angle, although addressed far better in Scream, it was nice to see that serious take on this meta angle. And for me, I was just relieved that they went back to a creepy Freddy. I mean, it takes about an hour and 15 minutes before you saw him, but they set up this monster throughout the movie. And then when you get the monster, I love his look in this movie, by the way. I think the makeup is really good. And it feels like what they're going for, the demon, like the entity. Now, having said that, I mean, I do think that there are some things about the movie that are kind of weird. But overall, I just think it's a really grounded, really well made, really well acted, old school monster movie, in the sense of, we'll talk about this monster for 75% of the movie and then show it at the very end. And I really, really dug the hell out of that. So that's how I feel.
I remember my first time watching this was, you remember those New Line Cinema 4-packs, and it was like New Nightmare. It was like New Nightmare, Freddy versus Jason. It had the remake and maybe something else. It was one of those little old 4-packs, and I had that. Or it was probably like part 4.5 New Nightmare, and then part 4.5 Freddy's Dead New Nightmare. That's what it was. Yeah. It was those New Line Cinema 4-pack. That's what it was. And I watched that, and I was always conflicted. I did not know how to feel about it. It was one of those movies where I really appreciated it. It was well made. It was well done. But I was just like, the telling thing for me was my favorite scene in the movie is when Robert Englund is dressed up as Freddy at the TV talk show, because I'm like, oh, that's Freddy. That's Freddy. And there's something about that I think is a metaphor for how I feel about this movie. I dig this demon Freddy. I watched this movie not long ago, a couple days ago, and there's so many things I really like about it, but I struggle to say I love this movie. I don't know. This is a weird film for me. You have to really catch me on the right day almost. I really like the world that the Demon Freddy lives in. It's, again, we go back to that kind of gore gothic look with those huge cathedral demon things and the gigantic Freddy mouth statues and stuff. But in the same breath of what Nick said, I do think he's right. This is more of that methodical, slower paced, universal monster movie. And I can dig that approach, but at the same time, I don't necessarily really want that with this movie. It's weird.
No, and
But
I don't mean to interrupt you, but also it was at this point, this is the 7th movie in a franchise. We've seen Freddy as the main character for arguably the last 3 or 4 movies. So going back to it now is weird because you're almost oversaturated with Freddy. So you're kind of like,
which basically means, in essence, they should have stopped a movie or so ago. In all honesty, they should have just stopped it because the absence had not been there for the heart to grow fonder. And I know that reflected in the box office. I think you could blame it on the times, sure, but I don't know. You really can't just blame it on the times because there really wasn't much absence. Is 3 years for a franchise in absence?
no.
3 years.
No.
You know what I mean?
I mean, look at Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. Does it really feel like an absence? Not really.
No. Granted, the box office will be there, but
yeah. But what's your rating then? If you struggle to love it, what's your rating?
I'm gonna give it a 6 because I still think the moments. Let me tell you the things that bother the shit out of me. Wes Craven needs to get that shit-eating grin off of his face when he's in the movie and get through. Look at Sauce. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That nervous smile that Wes Craven has. I love you, Wes Craven. You have created the most iconic character, in my opinion, in the world, Freddy. But you're a shit actor, Wes. I'm sorry, Wes. You suck at acting. Like that. You know, don't deny it, Nick.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
This is Wes.
He wanted to cut that. He didn't want that scene in the movie because he's I suck. I'm terrible.
And I'm not. Yeah, but when you see this is Wes Craven, you've got to decide if you want to play Nancy one more time. You know, there. So, and as bad as Wes is, Bob Shea sucks too.
Holy
come
shit.
on, Heather. Kids love horror, bro.
Kids love horror.
Can you not look at the cue card, bro? You know. I thought the woman.
Somebody get the phone. Get the phone.
I thought the woman was better. Was that his wife in the movie? The blonde hair woman.
No, that's.
I thought Sarah Risher was way better than both of them.
But not by much. She's terrible too.
But
hey, Heather, it's good to see you.
But at least she kind of had like I don't know. But to get my pettiness, my pettiness out of the way, because I'm being petty, yes, but still, those are significant scenes. Wes's scene dictates what Wes's scene explains what you're seeing. That is quite frankly the most important scene in the film. So that's why it's so jarring in my mind. Yeah. But it's so funny because I love Wes. I mean, he is great. I really like him in Body Bags when he messes up his hair and he's the crazy guy trying to get the cash at the gas station. Of course, he's funny in Scream for the 0.03 seconds. He's the janitor as Freddy. But anyway, I'm going 6. I think that this movie is really good, but I can't help but feel a little bit of the ship has sailed a little bit kind of thing. I wish they would have waited a little bit longer to make this film. Imagine if this would have been the remake from 2010. Ooh. I think with that kind of timing, spaced out, man.
Yeah. Sauce, but go before me. You go before me.
Before I give the rating, I do want to say I've thought this for a while. It didn't come to my stupid mouth while I was talking earlier. The biggest sin of this movie, in my opinion, is to not have had Robert Englund and Freddy Krueger, face to face. He talks about, just been doing stuff in that fucking creepy painting that they kind of.
Oh my God, you're so right.
To not have done anything with those two,
criminal.
It's absolutely criminal. Like that, honestly, that scene, as long as it's done right, of course. I mean, if they just kind of shit something out, that probably would crank it up probably a notch or two. I think there's something to fight for in that case. Like,
Did
no,
Robert
this
even
movie's
get
great.
hurt? Robert didn't even. He didn't
No.
get. He made the painting. He
Yeah,
was creeped out for a
that's
few
it.
seconds, and
And
as soon as he
just
got off the phone,
Stop
he
answering his
went
phone. Yeah.
when he got off the phone with Heather.
Yeah.
When he got off the phone with Heather, he called up his boys that night. Hey, let's go. Let's party.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good.
But that was a fun noise. I'm gonna give it a 6, like Christian. It's pretty middling, but it's still on the positive side of that. It gets a lot worse. Freddy's Dead is a lot worse, and then there's a whole bunch of shit coming down the pipeline in a minute or two.
Can't wait for that. But I'm gonna be corny, and I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna be cheesy, and I'm just gonna, I'm howling like a wolf because I'm the lone wolf here. New Nightmare 9.
Wow.
I fucking love this movie. I love this movie. I don't know why. I got burnt out on the Dream Child Freddy's Dead Freddy, and it was really, really cool to get this grounded Freddy, although it's not really Freddy. It's the demon. I don't give a shit. Okay. Look, my Nightmare rankings are obviously going to be a little bit different than Sauce and Christian because they're definitely more hardcore fans of it. But for me, it's a 9, man. I gave you guys the howl and everything. Yeah.
And I get that. There is a certain sector of the fan base that do hold this one in the higher to highest regard, and I get that completely.
Justin has this movie it's his favorite in the entire franchise.
That's cool. I get that.
It surprises me though.
I just love the 80s New Line. That's just
Absolutely.
my stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with Friday. Remember when we did it with Pizzal? Me and Piz both agreed. I think you as well. We all said like the Paramount Fridays. Those are the best. I mean,
dude. Yes, because that's not even an argument for me. I hate Jason Goes to Hell. I hate it. And Jason X is fun, but it's really bad. So I agree. The first 8 Friday, and I feel the same way about Halloween. Like 1 through 6 have a feel that was never replicated after 6.
Yeah,
never replicated. So yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I want to say one thing. Wes was great in the opening when he was like, "More blood, don't be stingy."
Yeah.
and then the scene where the shit starts hitting the fan, and then you get this shot that's aimed up, and you see Wes go, "Hey, cut the effects!" That's great. Wes is great there because he's like in his deal. He's doing his thing, right? But poor Wes. I mean, he gave it hell, but
yeah, I think another thing with this movie. Some of the elements, like I said, not having Freddie and Robert come face to face and not spending more time with the entity, kind of looking into that a little more somehow or another, just kind of like, oh, he likes to look like Freddie. He's come to enjoy this kind of embodiment. I think shit like that would have made this movie much better. A lot of it's just kind of, perhaps like Nick said, it's old school monster movie, but it's also just kind of like, okay, we have to be Johnny Explainer and just tell you, well, nope, this is Heather, not Nancy, but now it's Nancy.
Yeah, that is. I will admit that's a pitfall of the movie that it seems like it gets caught up. It trips on itself sometimes, trying to over-explain shit.
Yeah, and it's like it's trying to be inside baseball without being inside baseball, and it's like just fucking give us one or the other. Like don't. Either spoon feed us or let the audience, this what Craven said. I kind of wrote this for the people that saw the first one, that are now in their 30s. Okay, so let them be in their 30s and kind of, you don't have to go, hey, this is a movie we made. Like, let them come to that, come to that kind of conclusion on their own. Yeah.
All right, so listen, guys, we're back. If you're watching this live, or obviously going to the video, you just saw a hard cut to what I'm saying right now. I'm making this distinction right now. we're skipping Freddy versus Jason for this because it's Freddy versus Jason. But to hear the epic rant we just did, go to my Patreon and you can hear that. I'm going to make that little snippet a Patreon exclusive. And Sauce was pissed.
There you go.
But here we go. We're going to wrap this up with 2010's A Nightmare on Elm Street. Excuse me. Nick, I'm going to throw you out to the wolves.
Yes.
Start.
All right. So I saw it in theaters opening weekend. It wasn't opening night. And I remember because my buddy saw it opening night. He texted me. He's like, did you see it? I lied to him. I was like, yeah, I saw it. And he was like explaining stuff from the movie. And I like threw something. I don't know why I lied. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, I'm not seeing it till tomorrow, bro. I saw it. And I walked out of the theater going, Rob Zombie's Halloween was way better than that. And then it got its home media release. I watched it many, many, many times because it's one of Brooke's favorites. It really is. And so we've watched it a lot. I like it. I do like it. I will say, and I will shit on all the things that need to be shit on. CGI, terrible decision. The script. Jackie Earle Haley did not do badly, but they did not give him shit worth of material. Like, period. They just didn't. Rooney Mara being the lead and not giving a shit about the franchise or the character of Nancy or the impact she was going to have on people being in a remake of such a classic movie. Terrible. I mean, it's terrible. I liked Quentin more than I liked her. I wanted to focus more on Quentin than her because she just sleptwalked, no pun intended, through the whole movie. Also, tonally, they were almost like, okay, the first half, it's really dark Freddy. Okay, you know what? Let's throw some comedy in there now. Let's give him some comedy, Freddy. And it's like, well, what Freddy are you going for here? And then the thing everybody wants to address, the elephant in the room, the not child murderer, child predator storyline. Everybody knows that Wes Craven toyed with that idea initially and didn't go with it. And he made the right decision because I don't think that especially in 2010, like, I don't think that was the route to go.
Yeah.
But overall, I think that there's some cool kills. I love some of the lines, especially when he's like, the brain stays alive for 7 minutes after the heart stops beating. We have 6 more minutes to play. Like, I love that line. I respect the hell out of Jackie Earle Haley because he's a fantastic actor that was given a subpar script and subpar effects for his character, and he made the best out of what he could with it. But I digress. I'll get to my rating later because I know I'm probably going to be another lone wolf on this. Sauce is chomping at the bit. So if you want to go, brother, have it.
Yo, Christian, let me speak on this. Man, I remember the first time I saw it. It was on. Actually, matter of fact, it was VOD. It wasn't even on tape or DVD. It was like a DirecTV rental. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit the first time I saw it. And granted, me and my friends had been, having a little fun to the point where we're like, oh, we got to take that mirror down, but don't get in front of it. Don't get it scared the shit out of us. Like that, the end of that movie, I'll still defend that. That was a great ending. The sequel setup really is what that was. That I think, thankfully, we never got. But the movie as a whole is shitty. Like Nick has talked about the script. I mean, everything he said was bad about it. He's not lying. Jackie Earle Haley was terrific, although fuck him a little bit for shit that he's apparently said about the OG Nightmare. That aside, he did great. But he was just fucking completely hampered by really a shitty supporting cast, shitty effects, shitty script, shitty, you name it. It was bad. Samuel Bayer's terrible. Awful director. I like the idea of the micro naps. I like the idea, like you said, of the brain doesn't die for 7 minutes or whatever. All that shit. Again, it's another one of those movies where these things should add up to something good. But they don't. But this one has that kind of added element of all the shit that does take away from the good stuff. I like Quentin, as you said. I forget the actor's name, but he did a good job. Rooney Mara's an ass. Kyle Gallner. Rooney Mara's an asshole. And I think the most unforgivable thing of the entire movie is the fact that they made him a child rapist, a pedophile. Because it's fucking gross. Like, it's not. There's no. At that point, it's like, oh, this fuck. He just needs to die. I need him to die now. I don't want to see some kind of cat and mouse thing. I just fuck this guy. It ruins the movie. It's fucking. As soon as they say, nah, he really did fuck these kids. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I love how dark Freddy is. Yeah, but I wish, like you said, they had kept that tone through the whole movie. Also, I think it would have been a great twist to say, yeah, no, he was innocent. He didn't kill anybody.
I will tell you right now, that's one of my biggest gripes is that, especially for the casual fan watching this, you're kind of like, shit, were they wrong? Did they kill an innocent man? As obviously as any of us, people that watch horror movies a lot, we're like, no, they didn't kill an innocent man. But the casual moviegoer was probably like, oh, shit. And then they were just like, nah, he was actually.
Yeah, it's almost as soon as they put that in your head, like, yeah, just kidding, I killed him. He fucked him. It's like, dude, like, you had a great premise, and that would have, I think, Rooney Mara, bad effects aside, that would have changed so many people's opinions, I think, that you could have kept that franchise going. But when you don't do that, there's nothing redeemable about it, at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've said my piece, Christian.
Saw this in the theater. Saw all the big remakes in the theater. Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. This is my least favorite of the remakes. And it really sucks. I hate to say that. And you guys have basically said everything that I would probably say. My only thing, in terms of what you guys talk about the ending of not a child killer, but then he is, like, that pissed me off. I agree. I was like, oh, he didn't do it. It was genius. It was simple change, but genius. But even by that point, for me, that was just icing on the cake of bad decisions. And I hate to compare it. I really do, because I like Jackie. I'm a defender of Jackie, just like you guys. He was not given. Jackie had the recipe, but he wasn't given the ingredients, if you know what I'm saying. But even when you talk about those great lines of 7 minutes of, but I hear how Robert would say it, and I'm like, oh my God, when I hear Robert say that, and I hate to compare. I think Quentin does a pretty good job. It's just not enough.
No,
it's just not enough.
Because that's another fucking fault with the script. It's like, who's your lead? Like, you didn't give anyone the lead. It's supposed to be Nancy, but Rooney Mara clearly doesn't give a fuck. So then you're like, here, Kyle, you take it, and Quentin's the lead. But also, you have to intermingle with Nancy the whole time. And it's like, well, who is the lead? Like, give me someone to invest in. I really loved to see when Quentin goes into his dad's office, and he's like, you killed an innocent man. Like, that's an awesome scene. You didn't get any emotion from Rooney Mara like that.
Here's the problem.
Wouldn't that not have been another great twist? That, oh, Nancy, we know Nancy's the final girl.
Should have killed her.
Yeah, and then you just kill her. Not first, but yeah, she goes.
Her build-up scenes just weren't enough. I mean, yes, I was that teenage kid who was up in my room with my earphones blasting, listening to him and CKY. But what's going on in her head? What is she thinking about? I don't know. You didn't tell me. It's just not enough. And the reason this is my least favorite is because this movie, this is why I like Friday the 13th more. I thought Friday the 13th started out with this amazingly cool cast of characters. and then crappy ones take over the rest of the film. This one starts out with crappy characters, and it's all script. Okay, it's all script. I'm not saying the people were bad actors.
I do like Katie Cassidy. I do like Katie Cassidy in this movie, the blonde girl. I like her.
Again, it's just I
think
it's not enough.
She was the least terrible.
But
and of course they kill her a half hour in.
Yeah,
so it's like,
sure.
Okay, now you guys can have Rooney Mara. Like,
there's so many. It's nuanced stuff that can make me really dig a character. When the guy in Friday the 13th is going to look for his pot, and he's jamming Sister Christian by Night Ranger, I related to that so much because we all put on earphones and pretend we're rock gods when no one's looking and doing that. Instant relation to everybody watching the film. I don't recall anything in the remake of Nightmare that gave me a notion, besides Quentin just being a decent guy, of me relating to... Okay, what about this dude in the beginning, in the diner? He's freaking out. Who the hell is this guy? What is he so scared of? What caused his grief? What happened before this? He's just instantly freaked out. I don't care. I don't know you, bro. Yeah. I don't know you. Robert said the same thing. Who are these kids? They're just dying.
Yeah.
You don't get to know them.
And it kind of just defends you. It's impossible not to, with Freddy Krueger, it's hard to, there's no way to not compare Jackie Earle Haley and Robert Englund.
Yeah.
It's not like Jason. They're people love, they love Kane, they love Richard, they love Ted, because they all have the mask is what you think of. You don't see the same thing. This is a different animal. It's just a different animal. And I'm sorry, I don't want this to be my least favorite of the remakes, but it just is. Breaks my heart. Mm-hmm. I still think Jackie's great, but again, I just don't think he was given a fair shot.
No, and for me, like, we talk about Samuel Bayer, basically a music video director type guy.
I don't think it wasn't basically. I think that is all he had done.
Yeah.
These Platinum Dunes people, man.
Yeah, and Platinum fucking Dunes.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Go the fuck away. Like, I'm sorry, but you guys take popular properties and you make them look glossy and you make them look cool for the casual viewer, but everyone that has an affinity for that series when they go to watch your version of it is like, this is way too clean and like, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just, I will say though, there is some really cool imagery in this movie, especially the scenes at the preschool, like in the dream world. I really love some of the imagery in the movie. But again, a music video director should be able to get some of that imagery down. And he did do that well, but as far as character development and just dialogue and really any depth to anyone, like you said, Quentin is the only one you get some depth to.
Nancy's mom was such a pivotal... Her scenes in the first movie, the original, they were tense. There was some tense shit with Nancy and the mom. The one in the remake, she's like, "Hey, I'm going to work. Bye." That's it.
Yeah. I left you some lasagna.
I mean, seriously, I am not a writer. I don't know how to write a script. I don't know how to direct a film. But damn it, I've seen a lot of them. It's just...
And I think as far as a director goes, I think a director that had some talent, some balls, would have gotten a decent performance out of Rooney Mara. It would have been, "Hey, fucking wake up, broad."
Or would have been like, right after they start shooting, "She's not it. We need to get somebody else."
Yeah.
Because I mean, Patricia Arquette's performance in 3 was amazing. And that's...
And Chuck Russell...
that's Chuck Russell.
Pulled that out of her. And that's well documented.
He probably went a little too far, most people would say. I mean, we've never gotten specific details of that. He's kind of a taskmaster, But,
you remember Ken Sagoes? He said somebody on it was tense on Dream Warriors. Somebody Ken said one of the producers got up on a scaffold and said, "This shit's gonna stop."
Yeah.
Like, they didn't play around back then.
And that's another thing, another example of that. And I know a lot of people shit on her in Rob Zombie's first movie, Scout Taylor Compton, but for the second movie, it's well documented that Rob pulled her aside and was basically like, I want you to like, and she's talked about it like, well, when I cry, like if I get too into it, I like fall apart. And Rob was like, fall apart, like snot coming out of your nose, inconsolable, like fall apart. Like tap into that space. And that's how you know that that's a director that knows what they want to do. Samuel Bayer did this for a page.
I bet you. I mean, look, I wasn't there obviously, but I would be willing to bet this movie you had agents talking to the directors, the producers talking to the agents, but there was probably not. I just, man, this thing is soulless. It's just not there for me.
I'm definitely going to give it the highest rating. I can tell you that. So you guys go first.
Going 1.
I'm going to give it a 2. It gets a 2 out of me.
Oh,
going 1.
Okay.
This is Nightmare on Elm Street, for God's sakes. You cannot drop the ball like this.
You're absolutely right. But I will say, if we're being objective, there is some... Jackie Earle Haley does well. There are some cool kills. There are some cool dream sequences visually. I like Quentin. I think he should have been the lead. I'm gonna go a 6 because and I mean that's barely above Dream Child and Freddy's Dead for me. And honestly, Dream Master, through talking to you guys with this, has leapfrogged the remake for me. But I still enjoy it. Like I do. Like I'm unashamed to say like I enjoy it. But when I watch it, do I feel like do I immerse myself in the world? No, fuck no. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh yeah, I just feel like I'm neck deep in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. No, but I just don't think it's terrible. But I think a lot of the reason you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you guys give it the ratings you do because, 1, you're hardcore fans, but 2, you saw potential in it, and it just dropped the ball. And it pisses you off as a fan because you're like, I saw you guys had some of the ingredients to make a really good movie, and you didn't.
It does.
I agree. I agree with that.
One's not fair. I'm being a dick. I'll go 4. Genuinely, I'll go 4 because there are things that are good. Quentin's pretty good. He's pretty good. Jackie's good. The soundtrack, I have listened to the soundtrack, and there's some good cues in it. But
I also really like
it hurts. It really just hurts.
Dog and he says, "I was just petting it." Petting him
again. Think about Robert saying that.
Oh yeah. I mean, just think about a Freddy Krueger with like practical fucking makeup. Like,
again, that's okay. Look, I'll give it a 4. 1 is way too stiff. I'm being very stiff on that. I'll go 4, which is my lowest rating. But
Sauce is like, no, you're not. Give it a fucking.
No, look, I want to give it a 1 out of pure hurt. Because by that point, when that movie came out, Nightmare was already my favorite. I was a diehard. I knew associate producers. I knew the makeup effects, crazy George. I knew these people. I studied this stuff. I was so dedicated. And I wanted to love this movie so much. And even then, before I really became a movie reviewer and started talking, like even then I knew, without really being able to describe it to myself, I knew that it was bad before the camera. I knew that this film was bad before the camera started rolling because of pre-production and the script. I just knew it without being able to express it. It was that blatant to me.
Yeah, I get you. I get you, man. I mean,
it hurts. It hurts really bad.
But we know, you should know, Christian, and this might actually scare you. Freddie will be back really soon. We know this is coming. Wait till Halloween Kills it at the box office and Scream, and then New Line's gonna be like, all right, fuck it, we gotta put Freddie out there again. So that might scare you, but I'm excited for that. I want to see Freddie back.
Halloween 2018 has made me let go. I don't care about. I mean, when I say I don't care, I'll watch them. I'm not gonna be that person. I'm not gonna be that person that just shits on it and then goes to the theater because then I feel like an idiot when I do that. I don't have to claim I'm really excited about them. but I'll go see it. I've told you about who we think could be Nancy. If Sauce, I don't want to tell you on air, but I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, I reached out to somebody from Bloody Disgusting and got semi-confirmation on this too. So it's real.
I think, dude, Nightmare has so much. The world is so wide.
Fuck yes, it's limitless. It's your dreams. You could do fucking anything, man.
I mean, in my dreams, I've hooked up with Jennifer Aniston, bro. Yeah. Like anything is possible in your dreams, guys.
In my dreams, I'm beautiful and bad.
You bastard.
I want to say really quick, Christian, if you guys have watched for the whole 2 hours, God bless you. But somebody commented on our last episode about Killer Clowns from Outer Space getting a section at Spirit Halloween. Well, I followed up with my source. Yes.
Oh my God, I can't wait for that. That's been speculated for some time.
I said, look, I've heard rumblings about this. Just tell me straight up, is it happening? And he replied and said, yes, it is. And I was like, cool.
That's getting the glass figure thing.
And the first thing I thought of was like, Christian's already talking about how he's going to spend all this money this fall. Guess what? There goes more.
Yeah. Since we're here, obviously, guys, can we talk about this for a minute? Okay, the show's going on, but I'm throwing the kitchen sink out of this. The Scream Factory Halloween 4Ks that have come out. So many people hate that artwork. Sauce, what are your thoughts? I mean, people hate this vitriol, for God's sakes. You think that these 4Ks were the child rapists? Hate it.
I don't hate them. I mean, Halloween 2, the mask looks dumb.
Yes.
Like it's stretched way too wide, but you posted on YouTube the art for 3, and I think that looks beautiful.
That's my favorite one.
I mean,
I agree that Halloween 5's artwork is also good because it embraces the cheesiness of that movie.
Yeah. It's cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but dude, I just think that this art is really important to people at this point. For better or for worse, I think it's. Go ahead.
I just say, guys, I'm gonna give credit to Christian because he tipped me off on this because I don't get paid until Friday, and Christian was like, hey dude, if you go to Amazon, you can pre-order them and they won't charge you right away. I was like, shut the fuck up. He's like, no, I'm serious. So I went to Amazon, I pre-ordered all 5 of them. I texted Brooke and said, hey. So I pre-ordered all those 4Ks and she texted me back literally and just said, And I was like, don't worry, I won't get charged for 2 months. I'll figure it out. But yeah, so I pre-ordered them. Christian, you did too, right?
I just went ahead. Yeah. I mean, it's no rush. It's not like they're going to sell out before they release them, especially on Amazon. But it's better to go ahead and pre-order it in case what happened with the Tremors collector set. I had to wait. I didn't pre-order.
Here's a question I have for you guys. You guys have both pre-ordered stuff from Scream Factory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've seen people get them earlier than the release date.
Do.
Is that normal?
Usually. I know with the Friday box set, that wasn't. I think it took me next 3 or 4 days after the street date to get mine, and I lived in New Jersey at the time. So that wasn't they gotta cart it to some fucking lost aisle or anything like that.
The reason I ask is because the day they would be the street date, I'm in Hawaii on my honeymoon. So, and I want to do a video when I get them, and I leave like 3 days before.
Let me just let you know right now. Just get that out of your head.
Yeah, don't expect.
Listen, do a video. Look, you have a fan base. They'll want to see you with your movies. Just don't worry about it, because let me tell you something. Even if you do a video on these suckers on the street date, and I get it, guys. This is YouTube. We all want to get stuff out sometimes, and do you realize how many people have already done the Scream Factory? And even if it's a day early, I mean, the ship will. If they get it a day before, it'll be at least 50 videos.
Mm-hmm.
So, my thing is this: Scream Factory, you're supposed to get it on average 2 weeks early, and for a while that was the case.
Yeah.
You can blame it on COVID, you can blame it on whatever, but I have not seen that consistency. King Kong, I got mine from Scream Factory the day it was I was supposed to get it early, but I got it on street day, the day of street date, with the poster and all that. I'm supposed to get it early. I didn't, and I was just like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna stick with Amazon. I'm paying for Prime anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stick with Amazon.
Yeah.
So,
Are you
But real-
pre-ordering them, Sauce?
I haven't yet. I might. I mean, like it's too. I just haven't got around to it because I'm still kind of debating whether I want them or not. Like, what
You
do
should
I
at
care
least
that
get.
much?
You should at least get Halloween 3. You should at least get
that's my jam, baby.
Yeah.
But hey, let's talk about what we really
yeah.
need: the goddamn Nightmare on Elm Street
Anyway,
box
goddamn
set.
it. Yeah, I do want to just kind of reaffirm I'm not budging from 2. The remake gets a fucking 2 because it deserves it. Listen, Jackie Earl Haley and the Quentin and the Micronaps earns it a 5. But Rooney Mara and that stupid fucking scene with the shitty CG of Freddy coming through the wall drops it 3 spots. It's a 2.
horrible.
It's garbage. It was done better in the Frighteners when you see the ghost come out the wall in the bathroom. I'm serious. And that was 1996, and the CGI was better.
It was done better. Well, CGI, yeah, okay. But I mean, it was done better practically in fucking 1984.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
done
Well,
better in The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about that. I mean, the effects artist talked about what they spent, like $20 for that sheet of spandex.
Don't
And
touch
it
Willie.
looks- How insane is that? Which begs the question: why would you do CGI if something that cheap looked that better? I think it's seriously just for the principle of CGI is the future, so we have to do that.
It's CGI could be used so much better. Do everything practical that you can. I mean, there's going to be shit where you can't, but with CGI you can hide the seams. You could do more shit practically than you could maybe in the 80s because now you can go back and go, all right, fucking kill this, like fucking edit this out, get rid of that string there.
Yeah,
we can see that.
The answer to your question, Christian, is probably Samuel Bay or Michael Bay and Platinum.
Michael Bay, I forget.
Fuck yeah.
Michael Bay, he is CGI in general. Like the guy's just a walking.
Hey guys,
CGI and explosions.
fucking do it.
You ever seen that clip of? You ever see that clip of Michael Bay walking off on he's in at this E3 type thing, and it's for a plasma TV convention, and something goes wrong with the presentation. He just walks off the stage like a baby. Oh, he's such a baby.
Yeah,
I don't like
I
Michael
find
Bay.
enjoyment in the Transformers movies. I do because they're big dumb fun. But yes,
I've got a
criticism of
vendetta.
Michael Bay, absolutely.
I've got a
he's made-
vendetta again. I'm not
he's
watching
made-
anything he does.
He's made one movie I like. That's Bad Boys.
Dude, I literally just got a comment. It just showed up at the top of my screen on one of my videos. It was like, "Are you pumped for the 4Ks of 1 through 5?"
No.
Boy.
Seriously, though, listen. I need a new movie for Nightmare to come out, honestly, for new Blu-rays and stuff, because that's probably going to be the only way
Yeah.
this happens.
Yeah, you're right, Christian.
I mean,
that.
seriously.
But I hope that fucking Scream Factory's able to go, hey, we can do this for you. Let us do it.
We'll
Because-
tell you, Sauce, we'll tell you when we wrap this up what Christian heard and then what I followed up with,
Mhm.
and we kind of have this
Yeah.
Yeah.
minorly cohesive thing, but we've gone over 2 hours.
Yeah, so look, I'll let you, everybody listening, thank you. I'm glad you get to hear a little bit of the rambling, because sooner or later we're gonna do a podcast episode where I hit the red button and we just start talking, and then 2 hours later we could start talking about Halloween 4Ks and end up on how Fruit Gushers tasted better 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Up on a Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 circle jerk.
Circle jerk.
We might end up there.
But Sauce, I want to say thank you for taking this journey with us, man. I
Thank you for
thought you
having
were, I thought you would be a great fit for the Nightmare retrospective.
You could not have picked a better topic to have me on for, I don't think.
Hell yeah, dude, it was fun. Yeah, every guest we've had has been fun. There hasn't been a single guest where I've been like, oh, fuck that guy.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
But
James
guys,
Stingray episode incoming.
yeah, who knows what we'll do with him. But I want to say thanks again for coming on, man. Nick, it's always a pleasure. Glad to have you on the show with me as always. And thank you, everybody. please, if you've been in the community chat while this is live, thank you for enjoying the show and hope you enjoyed our ramblings. If you're watching this after the fact, please drop a comment. Tell me your memories on Nightmare on Elm Street. You can be as honest as you want. Rob Zombie is not involved in this franchise whatsoever. So
Not yet.
right off the bat, those people should be okay. But yeah, this was awesome. Support the films, watch the films, keep Nightmare on Elm Street alive. Don't let it die ever. Not that I think it will. But we love you guys, and we'll see you next time. This has been a production of the Uneeda Horror Podcast. You need it, we got it. Thank you for listening.